You should just have kids and figure it out later. That's how our grandparents did it. And for those of us who are younger, our great grandparents in the Depression, people were poor and just had kids and figured it out, even though they had no food or really any money to pay for those kids. As can be seen in third world countries nowadays, the poor still have children, even though there are malfactors at play trying to reduce that and call it beneficial. But regardless, you should just have kids and figure it out. The reason why in Western countries that our populations are dwindling and we're needing ever increase of migration to fulfill the gaps is just that everyone wants their ducks in a row. They want a perfect solution to everything, to have the money here and there. Just basically this rich mindset, even though they weren't born rich or even had that lifestyle. But thanks to internet and the food and fluoride in the water, estrogen, through soy, everyone has these ideas, these delusions, really, to have all your ducks in a row, so that way you won't have any trouble or issue because you have the money. But it was never like that, ever, in the history of this nation. And this is the richest nation ever to be founded, ever, in all of history. It was never like that in this nation. So why people are like that now, I mean, it could be attributed to the psychological warfare being initiated by the government on the people, or food, or many other things. But whatever it may be, it's just people have this delusion and try to have these wages and lifestyle that was never really a thing in this nation. I mean, the 50s were great economically for all people of any race and kind, regardless of the social stigmas at the time. But wage-wise, I mean, if you had a job, you made it basically, and that went for anybody who had a job in the 50s. And there were people of all creeds and colors who had a job in the 50s. So, and we look to that era and the value of the dollar and its cost basis on what you can get, and then we retroactively apply that to their own lifestyle. But it was still, I mean, people still made tough decisions. Some people just weren't good with their money, and then but they still had the kids, they still had the children. So even that, the quintessential pinnacle of the nation, economic-wise, purchase power parity. I mean, even still then, people didn't have their ducks in a row. They still didn't have that lifestyle that we think of as the American dream. Vacation, 2 cars, 2 garages, white picket fence, acre. Not everyone had that, even in the best of times. And they still had children. I mean, even the Great Depression, that time. So even if you look at the best era, it was never like that. Have all your ducks in a row. Savings, rainy day fund, emergency fund. It just that was never a thing. So you should just have children and stop complaining. People nowadays are 40 years old and having children. That's not safe for the child, and that's not really. I mean, that's very self-centered if you think about it. Go, I'm gonna wait till I have everything. And usually, when you're 40, mid 35, you have your wages in check, but then you're putting more strain on your child. You're not giving them the best genes when you could have just suffered it. Go without the vacations, new clothes. Learn how to sew. Eat nothing but ground beef. People say, "Oh, food costs too much." Well, it's like, you want variety. Well, you can just do carnivore, cheap out, because carnivore is not that expensive when you think about it. I mean, you get full for less, and ground beef ain't that expensive. Eggs aren't that expensive, or you could do it in fasting. I mean, if you let your wife eat, and you could just practice fasting. So there's ways to circumvent the inflation creeping in on our limited funds, but people don't want to do that. They're just not lazy, but they're just self-centered and delusional and thinking of an era like, oh, my parents. But your parents may not even live that way. I mean, unless you're really old. I mean, like your parents from the 50s. You grew up in the 50s. If your parents are from the 70s, 80s. Your parents didn't live that way. Some did, but not everyone. When I get to the 70s, life started to go downhill in comparison. Still better than what today was, but it's just people are. You gotta think of the biological benefits of having kids young, comparing to, okay, now you have the money and all your ducks in a row, and now you're 40, and then you might have the chance of having a miscarriage, passing on your genetic defects because you have more genetic mutations and breakdown and double copying of the chromosomes and things of that nature. You're just giving your kid the worst of the worst outcome, life, and then now that's more expensive to maintain a child that has disabilities than to have a child who's healthy but you're broke. It's an easier life to be broke and have a healthy child than to have money and now your child needs help for the rest of their life because you decided, you know what, I don't want to live that way and struggle. But now you're struggling, and now you have to support a child. And then are those that, I don't want to have children. So that's it. You want to work and be rich just to give it all to the government, because that's who you're going to give it to once you die. The state takes it over if you have no heirs. That's just, at that point, just might as well just give 100% of your check to the government, because that's where it's going to go. All your life savings, all your hard work for nothing. People think that they're going to live forever, that they're going to be, you're not going to be 20, 30 forever, 40. Some people still healthy at 40. Eventually you're going to be 60, 70, 80. Thank God if you reach it to 100. There's a difference in lifestyle and being healthy and active and being, your money is your only support, but your health is failing. So everyone has to choose, and most choose the road less traveled because they think in their mind that money solves everything, when that's not the case. Health is everything. I saw this on short ones. It really resonated with me. If you were given $1 billion tomorrow, but you wouldn't wake up the day after, would you accept that $1 billion? Of course you wouldn't. So then that really puts things into perspective. What's really important? And seeing another day, being healthy. And what if someone gave you $1 billion, but you have no arms and legs the day after? Then it's not worth $1 billion. So it's not money. As the Bible says, it's not the swift or the strong or the smart in which the race is won, but time and chance happen to them all. You need to give yourself time and give yourself a chance. Take the chance. Just have children, because children are the greatest gift that keep on giving, if you raise them right. People complain, kids today don't respect their parents or things like that, but then look at your grandparents, how they raised your father, your mother, or how your grandparents were raised. Their parents are strict, but you're not strict, and you expect the same outcome. It doesn't work that way. The tried and true tested method usually works. The trail that wasn't paved, that wasn't blazed, is the trail of unknown and unknown results. And you don't know the results until it's too late. So if the Bible tells you one thing, your generations before you tell you one thing, usually the stricter parents have better outcomes. The military has obedient, placid, obedient soldiers for a reason, because they're strict. They're not strict. So there's that too. So to recap, just have children. You don't need all the money in the world. Just figure it out. Get a single-based carnivore diet. You get all your nutrients that you need, your amino acids. Practice fasting. If you and your wife can fast, that's good. But don't let a pregnant woman fast unless she's sick, motion sickness, nausea, then maybe. Check your health if you can't fast. If you have health problems, talk to your doctor, of course. But if you're genetically, biologically healthy, and if you could fast and your wife's not pregnant, practice fasting. If your wife is pregnant, you fast, you figure it out, you cheap out, and give your kids the best diet that you can afford.